Hey, it's Dave here, back to do a little follow-up on the last video on Title I allocation formulas. In that video, I had talked about that when you take an existing formula that was set up for one reason, and then you try to apply a new funding source to that formula, that there can be problems or issues. And so I wanted to follow up today and talk a little bit more about that. And to my mind, there's kind of two main issues that come out of that. The first one is the Title I allocation formula was really set up to be a nationwide formula, and so it has to be something that's applicable to all the states. And in Michigan, it does not really account for the school of choice environment that we have in Michigan. And so if you are in a district that has a lot of kids that are leaving that district due to school of choice, that really doesn't have any impact at all on your Title I allocation, because as far as Title I is concerned, the Census Bureau is what determines how many people live within your district boundaries. So it doesn't matter what school or what district they go to. So there could be some major winners and losers in that situation. So if you're in a school that accepts a lot of school of choice, and particularly a lot of school of choice from maybe kids in poverty, then you won't see any kind of Title I dollars for that. And the second thing that I would probably say is that a lot of people are starting to look at the COVID relief dollars that are coming in, and they're equating those to a per pupil basis. And they're seeing this massive per pupil disparity between neighboring districts. And they're wondering, how did that occur? And if you go back and kind of think about it, Title I is not set up on a per pupil basis. As we saw from that last time, it's very complicated how it gets set up, but it doesn't easily boil down to a per pupil number. And so if you try to take these COVID relief dollars now and then just divide it by your total enrollment, then you're going to see these massive disparities. And I'll have an example to share here in a minute about that. And the argument that comes out of that is every student in our state is affected by COVID-19. Every student, every district, every school, every family is affected by COVID-19. And so how are we ending up with these giant disparities? So those, I think, are the two main problems. And so I'll just show a quick example of that. So we're back to the program allocations page that I showed last time, and wanted to just talk about and compare these two districts. So these two districts, as you'll see in a minute, have roughly the same amount of kids. I think they might be off by a couple hundred kids, but they have vastly different Title I allocations. So you can see that the district on the top gets about close to 3.5 million for Title I, and the district below, which is around the same size, gets about 1/10 of that. So they're getting about, 360,000. And you can see there's also a vast difference between their poverty percentages. So you could say, well, that really makes sense. But when you come over and look at the population areas, you can see that it looks like there's a vast population difference, but the actual enrollment between the two schools is very similar. And that's just a function of how these numbers are all calculated. So if this top district is getting 10 times the Title I allocation, then you can expect that they're getting about 10 times the ESSER or COVID relief fund, and they do. They get about 10 times as much as this other district. But if we look at that same situation on a per pupil basis, and I've been seeing a lot of people calculating this out on a per pupil basis, so this is maybe an estimate about how much these districts will get. Here's their pupil counts, and then just a straight division problem will give you what their per pupil allocation is. And you can see that the one district on a per pupil basis is getting 3,500, while the other one is getting less than 350 per pupil. So again, 10 times the amount. And so those are some of the issues, so why is one getting so much more than the other? These are literally neighboring districts. They share a border, so it could be that students are choicing into that other district. It obviously has a lot to do with their census poverty data. And so that's kind of some of the main presenting issues when I mentioned in the last video that there are problems when you have an existing allocation formula and you try to apply it to a new funding source. So I think that's about all I have on that. And if you have any questions, my contact information is in my monthly communication. Thank you.